Don't forget to leave a 5-star review on iTunes for my friends at the Amish Inquisition.
Hello, welcome. It's Amish Inquisition time yet again. Yay! Episode 101.
Yeah, man.
On Sunday, the 29th of September 2019. I'm Amish Phil. Amish Ben is in the house.
Hi.
And we're back with the legend, the living legend that is Bam Jimber. Jim Bamber.
Everybody else. Oh.
Oh, how are we doing?
Well, since you were last here, I had a stroke. So if people think I'm pissed as fucking two handcarts, it's because I've had a stroke, not because I'm kind of slurring my words a lot. You know, but it's coming back, you know.
You're on the mend.
And I've given up smoking.
Yep.
So if I run out there and murder somebody, or a friend of mine said in the first week, you're allowed 3 dead bodies in the backyard.
What? Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay.
That's average, is it?
Yeah,
3.
average.
3
Dead
murders.
bodies in the
Murder.
backyard.
What was the thing on Demolition Man?
Ah.
Murder, kill, homicide, or something, wasn't it? So, just to recap, if you've not heard Jim before on the podcast, you should probably go back and listen to the 3 previous episodes.
Oh, I can't remember what they are. 83, 88.
No, we can't know.
91, maybe.
Yeah, whatever it is. Anyway, last time we covered your first trip to the US tour with Gene Rosenthal.
Yeah.
Or Rosenberg.
God damn it.
Rosenberg. The 2-bus crash in Scandinavia. New Zealand and the mongrel mob.
Yeah. Cruncher.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah.
Country and Western. Your vendetta with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a massive country and western boom in the early to mid 90s.
If you say there's a track on one of my albums called, it's C.T from Preston, right? But if you do say come from Preston, it sounds like country and western, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that track starts off country and western and ends up Brazilian samba.
By way of acid jazz.
It's a natural progression.
Miscellaneousism at its finest.
Very good. So after country and western, we talked about you getting clean, your road to recovery and interventions.
Yeah.
We touched on your marriages briefly, first charity record, and we sort of ended with you getting your award at Downing Street.
Right.
So
I think it's good to point out here again, the kind of freedom that I had when I stopped using drugs, for people, that kind of don't tell yourself a lie that you've got to do this to be like these people or any of that shit, because of the life that I had from 1997 onwards, like an award at number 10, I'd have never have done that, I'd have never have made my own music, which we started off with last week, and I'd have never have got together with Gary and the band, the 3 people in the band, Gary, Mike, and Jake, who were great, who were great with me, the underground ballroom. But mainly getting back into playing music, because if you remember, that last kind of moment of clarity was I started hating my music, which is, complete out of fucking order, So, just emphasize that.
it's funny
For
how
a minute.
that addiction can take something that's been probably the main focus of your life from being 4 or 5 years old or something,
It does.
and turn it on its head.
Yeah, because I went back to college and did psychology and then psychotherapy and stuff, and addiction therapy. Ended up working in prisons, which we touched on, and it in all my experience, what happens is people lose, families, lovers, money. I lost music. Which is so. Getting back into what I'm saying is getting back into playing with those 4 guys and also making that first CD. I just started loving it again, which is great.
And I suppose you're actually present for it rather than being off your head all the way through it, and just waking up the next morning thinking, "Oh, was that a good gig? I'm not sure."
Yeah, and where's Billy Ray Cyrus?
So, when did you go back to college?
I went back to college kind of 2000s.
Right. So a bit before you got the award at Downing Street.
1999, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how did that work? Was it like an open university type thing, or
Well, I did I got a degree in London in the late 70s
right?
when I was living in kind of Deptford. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Around there. I went to Goldsmiths
Oh yeah.
College because you could get a fucking grant. You could get 1,800 quid, mainly. But I got a Bachelor of Humanities in Communication Studies and Comparative Religion,
Oh, right.
which I've used extensively. Good evening, Okay. But so what I did was I took a post-grad thing here at Preston, which was only a couple of years in psychology, and then I did a advanced diploma in counselling and psychotherapy at Wigan.
Right.
Wigan and Lee College, which at the time was the foremost college for that kind of thing.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And was this with a view? Were you thinking this is going to be my new career, sort of thing, and move away from the music?
Well, I was getting clean, and I was talking to a lot of people, and I kind of, got to it's a bit like my charity work, really. I kind of wanted to give some stuff back, give something back, and I was looking for a job. I was caring for my mum and dad, and so there was that. But I had a lot of time on my hands, so I did these degrees, and it was a friend of mine. I think he just said, I think you'd be really good in the addictions business, in the addictions business, getting people off fucking heroin and crack and blah blah blah.
So it did lead to a job then.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about you working in the prisons and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, well, that was I went into first time I went into Lancaster Farms, the youth offenders place, and on I can't remember what they call placement. On placement from college,
right?
If you want to be a teacher, they put you in schools. If you want to be, so, and then I in the I think it was it third year. In the third year, I went into Lancaster Castle, and when I got on really well with the people there. I got on really well with the governor and all that kind of thing. And there was probation then, which I kind of didn't know. There was the head of probation was an old Scotch guy called Jock, but he was brilliant, and he was really into kind of rehab. He was really into trying to get prisoners rehabilitated rather than locked up. So I got on well with him, and he said, when you finish your degree, then you can. There's a job here for you.
And was it sort of mainly were you sort of dealing one-on-one with people in there?
Yeah, kind of one-to-one. Then what happened there was two prison officers who, because the trouble about working in prison is you've got keys and you've got to go through about 62 doors just to move somebody from A to B. It's a fucking nightmare. But so two prison officers, I think I've been there for, I can't remember how long, but got together and we took the idea to Jock and the governor of setting up a clean wing, where people could come and, if they wanted to get clean. Well, really, what we were doing was setting up a kind of rehab within a prison.
Right.
which had only been done once before, which was a friend of mine was running a prison in Kent, and he was running a organisation called the Rehabilitation of Addicted Prisoners Trust.
Right.
And they gave money and help and stuff. So with his help and the permission of the governor, governors don't run prisons. We had to get security run prisons. You know, the head of security is really the top man, you know. So we had to get all that done, and that's what we did. That's what we did.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
What sort of, when you're in Lancaster Farms, a Young Offenders Institute, what if you had to sort of take a guess at what percentage of the lads in there have these sort of addiction problems at this time? I mean, we're going back nearly 20 years, aren't we? The problem, of course, with prisons is that there's more drugs in prison than there is, outside, man. A friend of mine in the States actually builds prisons. He's made a fucking fortune. And what he does, he puts a drug rehabilitation centre and a medical centre in the middle, and then he builds a prison around it. Yeah. Because, and sad to say, and this is the same with the Palms, or it's the same with Lancaster and every goddamn prison I've been into, drugs get in there, no matter what, and I remember Big Bill saying to me in America, I mean, if you can only visit somebody and you've got a plate glass in front of you and you talk to them on the telephone, how are you getting drugs in? The guides, no? The screw.
Correct.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Yeah. Money. So
well, the answer is probably pay the guides more.
Yeah. And what I was going to say was, a youth offenders institution like that is really college.
They go in.
Have a go at this.
They go in as sort of quite soft, naive lads who've maybe caught on a mixed demeanour, and they come out hardened criminals.
Yeah, and addicts.
And fucking hell.
Yeah. I even had a few occasions to talk to people who were coerced. Coerced by a kind of gang in a prison to take this, and then you're our customer. Yeah.
What's the main drug that floats around the prisons and the youth offenders?
Heroin.
Heroin?
It was heroin, crack.
Fucking hell.
Heroin, crack. Mainly. And of course, hooch.
Hooch?
Yeah, they make alcohol out of... The most inventive guy that I ever met used to make his hooch from umbongo. Do you remember?
Wow, umbongo.
Remember umbongo?
Yeah.
They drink it in the Congo.
Yeah. They just ferment stuff,
Fermented umbongo.
Quietly behind in some dark corridor or recess somewhere.
Yeah.
It all goes on,
I suppose, did you ever feel like you were sort of fighting a losing battle doing that job?
Well, this reminds me of something that happened to me recently. There's a kind of online community of people that I belong to, and a couple of new people came in, and what I hadn't realised was that all these three people were in the rehab in Lancaster Castle, and they're still off drugs today. One's a financial wizard in London. Another guy runs a kind of charity thing in Liverpool. You know what I mean? Mm. So that's what that is. It's like
one of my favourite people in the world is a guy called Dr. Magdi Yakub, who's a children's brain surgeon, a paediatrician, I think. Right. Anyway, he gave up a kind of lucrative, kind of Harley Street type thing, and he works in Africa, and he's operated on little kiddies' hearts for years, for 25 years, you know, and saved thousands of lives. And I heard him interviewed, and he said one would have been enough. You know, just do it, kind of thing.
Amazing to have that power in your hands, isn't it? To be able to, you know, save people's lives and stuff.
Yeah, it's a case of, you know, the old average white band tune, you know, get the message. Get the message. If they get the message, they get it. If they don't, they don't. You know.
So, while we're talking about medical things, I don't know whether we should move on to the big C.
That comes a bit later.
Does it?
Yeah.
So, should we carry on with the...
That comes a bit later. Music.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back to the backing.
You're still
Excuse my French.
you're still active playing then while you're doing the after you've gone back to college and working in the prisons and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Doing professionally or just as a
No, just you know, the Underground Ballroom with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, great guys, brilliant musicians. You know, we hardly ever rehearsed. It was never. It was a fantastic band. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Gary Thistlewaite, you know, the bass player, who the Mad Professor mistook for Marcus Miller. If you remember.
Yeah.
This is the Morecambe guy, isn't it? Runs the music.
Promenade Music.
That's the one. Promenade.
And a fantastic guitarist called Mike Atherton from Lancaster.
Former England cricket captain.
Yeah. And
Ball tamperer.
and Jake Jackson, keyboard player. So I was doing 3 or 4 nights a week.
Really?
Gigging
Gigging or practicing?
Gigging.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, we used to. There was the John O'Gaunt, the Bobbin, about 4 pubs around Lancaster that we just used to, where the kind of permanent residency in, you know.
Yeah.
And with a hell of following, you know, it's good. You know, well, you seem to take good band. Man.
Oh yeah. Tight as a mouse's horse.
Great band.
What was the band called, Jim?
Underground Ballroom.
Oh, Underground Ballroom, yeah.
That one. But at the same time, I'd just done this, you know, my charity CD, and made a lot of money, you know. Got an award, etc.
That was for sickle cell anemia.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to make a reggae album. Always wanted to make a reggae album and do the kind of history of reggae, you know, like from, I think we've talked about it, you know, from Calypso to Mento, Ska, Rocksteady, you know, a bit of everything in it, you know. And so I thought, well, the next one, I thought, well, I've made a lot of money on that. This one's going to be send Jim back to the fucking Bahamas charity. You know? If I could make a lot of money doing that, you know. So I got together with Alan again and some people at Lowfold, but I couldn't find a singer. I couldn't find anybody to sing it, and I did loads and loads of auditions, you know, just couldn't find. And then by then I'd set up a little production company called Bamber Productions, you know, because I had to get it all legal and I had to get it all legal and all that kind of stuff if I was going to make money. So I got all that sorted out, and somebody saw my website and sent me this little 4-track demo, and it was a guy called Oluwatobi Adedeji from Nigeria, otherwise known as El Fata, right?
Yep.
And I put this on, and I thought, thank you, thank you, you know, because this guy just sang like a linnet, you know, but he was in Nigeria
Shit.
with his family. He'd just been thrown out, well, not thrown out, he moved, he got a record deal in the Ivory Coast. So he'd moved there, and then the war kicked off there. So he'd moved back to Nigeria, and then he'd come to England, but his visa had run out, so he'd come back. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I went through hell and fucking high water to get him into the UK, so he could work.
Yeah.
And that's when we started on Roots.
And was this
album called Roots, Routes, pun on the word Roots. Roots.
and was this like reggae covers, or were you writing in the studio?
No, we were doing stuff together, because when I met him, he's one of the most amazingly creative vocalists, but he also, you know, he's a genuine Rastafarian, even though he comes from Nigeria, and I'm a fucking wonderful human being, to be honest. But hell, can he sing, you know? And he was really interested in it. He really got into it because he'd studied, you know, he'd studied the roots of reggae because he fucking loved it, you know. And so we got on like a house on fire, and Alan was there and done the heavenless rhythm, and it just carried on and on, you know. And so we finished that album. I got a lot of the backing tracks down, and he did some vocals, and then I thought, what I'll do is I'll catch up with some old friends of mine in London. A guy called Dennis Babel. I don't know whether I've talked to you about him. He was the guy who taught me how to play reggae drums on the old that band called the Alligators. Remember? I went in the studio with him. Blackbeard, who was called. He was in a band called Matumbi. So I wanted him to play on some names, you know. And also, I played with a guy called Rico Rodriguez. Do you know who he is?
No.
Well, latterly, before he died, bless him, he played trombone with the Jules Holland Orchestra. But he used to be a big star in Jamaica, and then he came up to London, and I joined his band. He was my boss for a bit, playing ska. He's a ska. The man from, if you want a really good ska arm, the man from Wareka. That's got Brad from the Specials on it, drumming, fantastic drummer, Brad. But I took over from him for a bit in Rico's band, you know.
All right.
But I was talking to Dennis, and he said, "Do you want to meet the Mad Professor?" You know, and I went, "Do I?" Because like the Mad Professor was probably the biggest producer of reggae in the 80s and 90s. Fantastic producer, you know. So we meant to meet him, and then me and Toby came down to London, and we got together and kind of mixed a lot of it,
Right.
you know. And that was when the famous Marcus Miller, you know, where I met Sly and Robbie and all that. That was while we were working at the studios. Oh, there's a great story there. I remember we got Rico in because I remember Neil, the professor, the prof, saying, "What you know Rico?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I could get in there." I said, "Well, yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing, you know." And I had 2 tracks for Rico because he was in his 80s then.
Wow.
This old guy, you know. And he came into the studio that morning and he sat down and he just started reading the paper, you know, the Jamaican Gleaner, and then he put it down and he went in and he said, "Prof, just run the tracks," and he fucking blew beautiful, you know. And he came back and he sat down in the chair again and started reading the paper again, and the professor said, "You okay, sir? Was that all right? Are you happy with that?" And he said, "No, man, not happy with that." He said, "Is that chicken soup shop still across the road there? They sell that beautiful chicken chowder." He said, Professor said, "Yeah." He said, "I gave me some of that to come back and make a better job of it." So off we went. This is an amazing story. Meanwhile, I put down what I call a Taj Mahal jump reggae track, which is snare drum first and then bass drum, like.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
Sounds good just hitting a
It
table,
does,
Jim.
yeah, it
He
does.
said,
Tell you're a drummer.
he said, because we've been, you know, talking about the roots of it all and all that, you know. He said, "While I'm getting the soup," he said, "can you change that back to a straight 4/4?"
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I ran through the whole track while he was out, and then he came back and did it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the most fantastic thing. We're in the studio, and there's a kind of TV on, you know, with, I don't know, Channel 4 News or CNN or something in the background. And we were talking between us, and Rico was saying, the first records that I heard as a kid were Fats Domino, you know, and he told me to slow it down. He said a lot of people play ska too quick, you know. So he said because the first records that we heard, which got us into playing ska, were things like "Walking to New Orleans" by Fats Domino, which is "Walking to New Orleans, I'm walking to New Orleans," right? And just as we were talking about that, they found the motherfucker on a roof.
Which motherfucker?
Fats Domino,
Found him on a roof?
Katrina.
Oh, the storm, the hurricane. Jeez.
And my professor said, "Turn the fucking TV on." And just as we were talking about that, because he was missing,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know.
Fuck, right. Right, because he was in New Orleans, was he, when
Yeah.
when Katrina hit?
Yeah. They
Shit.
found him on his roof.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
That's a synchronicity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Ain't no coincidences, man.
No.
I believe in miracles.
You sexy thing.
Yeah, so anyway, to cut a long story short, brought that album down, and it got rave reviews because I built up a kind of audience really for the kind of reggae. The my first CD was kind of reggae-ish, you know. It wasn't kind of full on reggae, but this was kind of like a history of reggae, and I got introduced to, you know, a top reggae journalist called John Missouri and people like Roger Steppens in the States. But the main thing was there was a guy called Ras Charles Jones from New York who loved my stuff. And so he was playing it a lot on radio.
Yeah.
And also the Midnight Dread in Paris. I can't remember what his name was. Thierry something. But he was a Midnight Dread in Paris. Came onto this radio station and played kind of reggae all night nearly. And he really hit it as well. So when this new one came out, I'd already established a kind of audience.
Right.
Like, you know, do you understand what I mean? But it didn't make as much money as a charity one.
Right.
And I think that's mainly because it's for charity. And people, you know, if it's just a normal album, people go, yeah. I mean, it got rave reviews. You know, I think there was a thing about me because I'd moved my name around, like Jim Bamber to Bam Jimber, you know, and I hadn't put any photographs on apart from that one with all the boys in the Bahamas there, but you can hardly see me. I'm at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the only one with a suntan, and you know, so I think a lot of these people thought I was black.
Right.
You know,
You're not.
no, I've always wanted to be. As a psychological childhood secret, you know, yeah, work that out, psychiatrists, you know, because you know, it's that music thing, you know. It's that thing about you know, when Miles Davis says, "Whenever I listen to the music, I can always tell when it's a black band. Always, I can always tell when it's a black rhythm section. Always,
Really?
I can notice straight away when they're white."
Really?
Yeah,
You used
man.
to say that.
Oh, fucking yeah. Miles, bless him.
What a card.
You know. yeah.
Do you believe that, Jim?
We could do a whole program on Miles.
Yeah.
Bless him.
No.
Not necessarily, no.
No.
Not necessarily, no. But there is, you know, it's very difficult to, and people have tried to get things like, I don't know whether I've talked about the Funk Brothers, one of my favourite bands. The Funk Brothers are the backing band for all those Tamla Motown hits that you've heard, you know, Stevie Wonder, Temptations, all that. That's the house band. Right. I saw them at Ronnie Scott's, you know, and if you listen to all those Tamla Motown things, there was always a tambourine on it.
Right.
Nowhere to run to, baby. Always a tambourine. And the guy had a big red suit on, percussionist. He had all that kind of stuff, but mainly tambourine. And I got to shake him by the fucking hand, man, because I grew up on that shit. You know,
the old Motown. See, I didn't realise till quite recently that Stevie Wonder was a demon drummer.
Oh fuck yeah, man!
Unbelievable. Have you ever seen him on YouTube playing drums?
He
Check
plays
that out.
He plays everything on Superstition.
Does he? Yeah. Oh yeah,
One
go
of
on
the-
go on
one of the-
YouTube,
one of the
eavesdroppers and stream droppers, and just put Stevie Wonder drumming into
yeah, man.
YouTube.
Yeah.
It'll blow you away.
Pearson,
Yeah.
multi-instrumentalist guy, awesome, man. You know, but great band, the Funk Brothers. Yeah. So, where are we?
Well, albums come out.
It didn't make as much money as I thought it would.
Still available to buy, Jim? You might get a resurgence.
I'm not sure because the next I'm kind of up into almost 2007 now. Excuse me, I've given up smoking. Christ.
I'm smoking for 2.
Meanwhile, I've got these things where I get not to get too political, but I get a fucking beam up on it about shit, you know what I mean? And my first charity single, or I used to make these little kind of, I used to call them EPs, you know, 2 or 3 tracks. I'll show you them later, some of them. The first one that I did was, I've always had, it's a sad state of affairs, you know, this, you know, the Middle East thing, you know. And a friend of mine, saxophone player, introduced me to a Jewish singer who wanted me to do percussion at a charity thing that she was doing for Palestinian refugees. And I just thought, that's interesting. A Jewish lady, right? And her name is Mikal Narman, and she's a singer. Fucking is she a singer, I found out. And I did this gig with her, and we got talking and this and that and the other. Meanwhile, I've been on holiday to my little bolt hole in Marrakesh. And I've been wandering about. And I've come across this shop, you know, with a classic shop, you know, with a window and a door, a little shop, but it kind of went back deep. And then there's these pictures in the window of this kind of amazing looking fucking orchestra, you know, and it said L'Orchestre Blamonustra there, inquiries ring Monsieur Khalid, you know, and I kept going past this, I kept peering in the window, you know, and I could see racks and racks of kind of musical instruments and stuff, you know, so I thought, this looks really interesting, you know, as you do. And I remember it was on the Friday, almost I was going home on the Sunday. On the Friday, I went past this place, and the 2 guys were sat outside. One of them was playing an oud, and the other was playing this a kind of, it's like a squeeze box, but anyway, and they were just kind of playing, you know. And I walked up to them and said, "Fantastic! I've been coming past the shop, etc., etc. Is there anywhere where I can see you? Are you playing a gig?" I said, "I've only got till Sunday. I'm leaving on Sunday." And they said, "Oh, we're playing a wedding tomorrow." And I went, "Oh, no, I don't want to impose on, you know." And what I realised is bands and people are exactly the same the whole world over. You know, Mr. Khalid said, "Have you got some dark trousers and a white shirt?" I said, "Yeah, I can manage it." He said, "Well, just come along and carry some equipment then." It's exactly the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life.
What kind of wedding was it?
A big Moroccan wedding.
Right.
I had it in this big Rehab, you know, Jesus. And that's where I first saw this orchestra. And it started off the first session, and it just sounded like, you know, a kind of little calm breeze in the desert. And the first session, kind of quiet and everything, and then it built up during the night when everybody's going hacking out shit, you know. And I thought, great experience. So I'd recorded them, the next time I went down there, I'd recorded them, and I'd recorded a guy called Ali Youssef, who's a Raita player. There's a Raita there in the bag. It's
Looks like a gym bag.
It's one of those.
It's like something you put your football boots in.
No, it's one of those. It's like a double-sided. It's a double-sided
Dildo.
No.
It's about the right shape.
It's a double-sided pipe.
Yeah, it looks complicated, isn't it? I'll put that back.
Before you break it.
It's a high-pitched, double-sided pipe.
Right.
A bit like an oboe, with a double reed. Really hard to play, but definitely very distinctive. Very distinctive sound.
What's it called?
A Raita.
A what?
No, Raita. Raita.
Raita.
Raita, yeah. I'll see if I can find some. For you. But you'll know it the minute it's a very Arabic sound.
Yeah.
So what I did was I brought out my first charity single was called Shalom Shalom, which is Arabic, and also I had Mikhail sing in the Jewish language. But then I had the Arabic musicians underneath. And I did it for, excuse me, I did it for this radio station called Shalom Shalom, which is trying to get, young Palestinians and young
Jews.
Israelis together.
Yeah.
So that was one of my first ones.
Right. Well, it's been a perennial problem for decades, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The old two-state solution.
I kind of despair of that now.
Mm.
You just think, how's it going to end, don't you?
Well, now, with, the big, with Trump and Netanyahu.
Has Netanyahu got back in?
Yeah, he's just been...
This election recently, wasn't
kind
it?
of wheedled it somehow, I think. Mind you, that's a bit precarious. But I mean, it's like the Brexit thing, who's looking after the NHS?
Yeah.
While all this bullshit, all this...
Lots of big divisive issues in the world.
Smoke and mirrors.
Sucks all the oxygen out of politics. A big issue like Brexit, and nothing else is being discussed.
No.
Yeah, so that was my first one, and raised quite a bit of money. Beautiful songs, it's lovely. It's on Spotify.
Right.
Still available to download?
Well, I don't think you can download it.
Ah, well, yeah, it's all changed now, isn't it?
Stream.
Yeah. Still on iTunes.
Yeah.
So I think...
God, we're all dying in here. Fucking hell.
I'm getting up smoking. For God's sake. I'm getting up smoking, all right? Whoever you are. The powers that be.
Yeah.
Just die quietly, Jim, if you can. Yeah. Where were we before I had a coughing fit?
Release single. First charity single.
Oh, the first one, yeah. Next one was child soldiers. I watched a documentary about child soldiers. I think it was about, what's his name? Coney.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Coney,
Congo?
yeah.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
And it's about mineral wars, isn't it? Conflict minerals.
The way I got into that
Was it Liberia?
I'm not sure.
Don't know. Go on.
No, he's in charge of the Lord's Resistance Army, this guy. And the way I got into that was
I've always loved gorillas, you know, as animals. You know, have I talked about this?
No.
Silverbacks.
Yeah, there's one. George is right behind you there.
George.
And anyway, I got into it because that's where the last past, you know, kind of how the gorillas are there with, you know, the DAR, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, in the Virunga Mountains,
Right.
which are almost in just about every one of those 4 countries. And the problem was there was, you know, insurgents and war in just about every country.
Yeah.
And so people were being displaced and moving up the mountains and cutting the trees down. So there was a problem, you know, with
Destroying the habitat of the gorillas.
yeah, that's how I got into it. But then I heard about this guy, Joseph Coney, and just about every other warlord in Africa, you know, who I mean, get that thing at the top there. I think it's on the top there.
Help these children.
That's it.
Change their lives like this to this. So you've got a picture of these kids with AK-47s and then playing football. Bamber has produced a charity single, Lay Down Your Arms and Dance, which we played at the beginning of the episode. Help the children by downloading it at Napster, iTunes, Rhapsody, etc. Thank you for your support. So this is about, and then the back cover with another kid with a rifle.
Yeah.
A kid who looks about maybe a couple of years older than my eldest son.
Yeah.
But it's about warlords exploiting children and arming them, isn't it?
And that kid on the front has been macheted from the back.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got wounds on the front cover, on his shoulder and back of his head.
Yeah.
Fucking
Macheted.
hell.
Man, you know, have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big, you know.
Yeah, like 18-inch, 2 foot long.
Yeah, so I got a beam about it about that.
Yeah.
And
it's so easy for us in the Western world. We are lifestyle to sort of just either turn a blind eye or just not think about things like that are going on in the world, isn't it?
It's crazy, really, because it still goes on.
Yeah.
You know, it's still happening. I mean, I can't remember when I made that. That would be, 2004, 5, 6, something like that. It still goes on, you know. And, of course, people in ISIS, you know, Daesh, you know, we're recruiting kids. It just goes on and on and on, you know. They just use kids all the time.
Well, topically, do you remember the controversy last year, I think it was, with the ISIS bride? I can't remember her name. Shamima
Begum?
Yeah. And I think it came out this week that there's no way she's coming back.
It's just that it's just children, you know. For fuck's sake, if you look at that, a picture of that like that, you know, I just, you know, people like Coney were using children to walk through minefields. You know, it's just.
You've got to wonder what's going through these guys' heads.
Yeah.
What is wrong with them?
You know, talk about the heart of darkness, you know.
What drives someone to do that?
The old heart of darkness, you know.
Joseph Conrad.
Horror.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, he was the same, wasn't he? Apocalypse Now.
Is the same thing, man.
Yeah, Colonel
With
Kurtz.
people who go nuts.
Mm.
You know, and it's power still.
Power.
Power, greed. You know, because like you say, it's for minerals, diamonds.
Lithium, I believe, is one of the
Lithium's
conflict
a big
minerals.
one we gotta put up.
We use it in our batteries, and we don't think
mobile
twice
phones.
about buying the next iPhone 11 that comes out. Well, where does the lithium come from in that battery? How do you know it's ethically sourced? I believe there is a company a couple of years ago came out with a smartphone, and it was an ethical smartphone.
Wow.
Oh,
And
yes.
all the parts. You've heard stories about where the iPhone's made in these factories in China, where they have to put nets around the buildings to stop people committing suicide because they're working so long. Anyway, this company developed this phone, and it's made. There's no sort of slave labor. People are paid well. Minerals are ethically sourced.
Everything's modular, isn't it? So you can change the screen yourself. You can change the
I don't know.
battery. I think it's Fairphone. I think it's called Fairphone. We can fact check that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, but we turn a blind eye, don't we? A lot of the time.
There are some amazing people doing some amazing things. I mean, this young woman shouting at the fucking UN, fucking ace, man. How dare you? How dare you concentrate on money?
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah. How dare you? It's brilliant. I think.
There's more to that story than meets the eye, I think. But I don't know.
Ooh. It's a conspiracy theory.
I think there is a conspiracy theory there, but I've not looked into it. But how does that girl get to the UN? If you look into who her handlers are, who's paying her handlers, it's a bit. I'm not comfortable with a 16-year-old girl.
I'm absolutely convinced that that she's managed. But I mean, so was Jimi Hendrix. Fair enough. I don't give a fuck. I want to know who Trump's manager is.
Satan.
That's the word.
So anyway, where are we going after the charity single?
Well, this is
Before we go down a conspiracy wormhole.
Well, this is it's almost cancer time now. I've done.
Should have a jingle for that.
The album came out, the reggae album, like I said. It did quite well. I did another album with the Mad Professor's son, because he kept sending me these fantastic dubs of the stuff that I'd done with his dad. So he then persuaded his dad to bring out, a CD on the Ariwa label. I was the first white guy to have a CD out on the Ariwa label, which I'm proud of.
Yeah.
What was I doing then? Really, I was working. I think I got my final job then. The prison kind of closed down. I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff there, so I actually left before it closed. But I was working for South Cumbria Rape and Abuse Services, which is quite a heavy kind of counselling gig. But very, very rewarding. And my, let's see, my mum had died. I looked up at my mum. She got Parkinson's disease and kind of dementia, and in the end, even though I'd taken out a lot of money out of I took 50% of the money out of the house, and I had winches and wet rooms and goodness knows what, looking after her. I had to put her in a home in the end.
There comes a point where there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still beat myself up for that, but
Don't.
No,
Don't,
I,
because
the matron of the home said, "Jesus Christ, Jim, how on earth did you cope with this woman?" It takes us nearly 3 people to sort her out in the morning. So, I kind of got over that. Now, I'm spoken about my brother. Yeah. I think my little brother, the farmer.
Yep.
Because I think I have spoken about him.
So you talked about him taking over the family business.
That's right. Yeah.
Always wanted to be a farmer.
As big as that door, and he used to talk like that because he never lost his accent. He used to talk like that. It's London Puff coming up for Christmas. Is it coming up for Christmas? That lad thinks that playing drums is working. Never did a day's work in his life, that lad. I loved him to bits, man. I really loved him to bits. Big, gentle giant, But he got gangrene.
Gangrene?
Yeah, got gangrene. This is the kind of guy who, if you had a broken leg and a broken arm, would still manage to milk 150 fucking pedigree Frisians, Didn't like doctors, any of that shit. So when he rang me up and said, "Jimmy, you need to take me to the A&E," I thought,
oh, shit.
No.
Must be serious.
Something must be... and he got gangrene in just from cuts on his, and of course, sweaty socks and Wellingtons, perfect for the incubation of that. And I will never forget sitting on the end of his bed in the hospital and the surgeon coming in saying, "Well, we've removed your big toe and up there, and we've removed your big toe up here. Now we just need to find out exactly how far the infection has got, and then we need to take the decision of ankle, knee, or hip."
Fucking hell.
I thought, it's not what you want to hear on a Monday morning.
No.
Was he still working?
Yeah.
Fuck.
But he got infected and he couldn't get his... The only reason why he wasn't was that he couldn't get his boot on. They're all swollen.
Yeah.
So, anyway, to cut a long story short, he had one leg amputated just above the knee and one leg just below. And it killed him, man. Because he couldn't farm anymore, I think. I think it broke his fucking heart. Because this guy used to love his cows, I mean, he left school, didn't do the common entrance exam like me. The hell with that, and he went to Windnarly, agricultural college. And then my parents bought in the farm and all that. The kind of family business, I've been doing it ever since, single guy, just a farmer, but a really lovely fucking human being, man. I've seen him cry when cows have got to go and stuff, great big motherfucker he was, but sweet guy, And he died kind of 2007, around 2007, round about the time that I got diagnosed with cancer, or just before, actually, because I had to clear his house out and do a lot of kind of paperwork, and there was all kinds of family legal complications, and all that kind of shit. But I had to sell his farm and all that kind of stuff. I had to do all that, so
I had no wife. I did not.
No.
No, so you were next of kin, were you?
Yeah. So, but he was in a lot of debt, you know. But this is the story. I got diagnosed with cancer in 2007, and then I had my first operation, and then I'd had 2 other operations removing both testicles, prostate cancer, and I was told that sent a letter again. I don't know what I told you, but I got a letter saying that yes, it's aggressive prostate cancer, etc. Very quick, you know. They had me in the hospital real quick. But this is a good story, I think. Meanwhile, I'm making my next CD, which is called Into the Dance, which I recorded at my bungalow in Garstang while I had a catheter in and, and all that. And that's where I started doing this kind of hand playing just with my hands, you know, all the time. And I recorded that with a guy called Luke Paget, who's a really good drummer. I gave him lessons, but he was at engineering college in Manchester, and he had a big kind of mobile thing, and he just used to set it up in my living room, you know. So I was working on the Into the Dance CD. Oh, man. But in 2010, I was told that I only had 6 to 12 months to live because the cancer got up into my ribs here, you know. And just after that, my brother's solicitor rang up and said, Jim, I finally got it all sorted out and all the money sorted out and all this kind of thing. So, you know, you better come in and I've got John's will to read, you know. Well, my brother always used to say, I'm leaving my fucking money to no fucker. I'm leaving it to National Farmers Union. I'm leaving it to British Frisian Association. A great long list of fucking cow charities. Right. So I thought, well, you know, I looked after him towards the end. You never know, he might have left me a couple of times. So I turned up to the solicitors, and he read out, you know, my brother's will, which was virtually a long list of fucking cow charities.
Was it?
Yeah. But then, you know, the way solicitors kind of look over the top of the specs at you.
Yeah.
He said, you may be interested in this last paragraph, Jim. He said, if I die before my brother, James Edward, he gets the lot.
Wow.
Ah.
Boom, you know. He's going to knock me over with a feather.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, literally 2 or 3 weeks after I've been told that I've got 6 or 12 months to live, I come into quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Are we talking like 6 figures?
Not quite.
Right.
Nearly.
Well, if it was me, I'd probably go fucking apeshit.
Well, guess fucking what?
So,
Guess what?
what did you buy first?
A swimming pool.
Oh, right.
I put a fucking swimming pool behind a bungalow in Garstang. I'm serious, I'll show you pictures. Honestly.
Right.
Because me and Sonny there had been to a convention in Barcelona, and we were on the 23rd floor, I think, and 2 floors up on the roof, there's just this one-lane swimming pool, and I thought, that's fucking ace. I want one of them. So I did.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I bought
Right.
because it meant to be good for me. Swimming was good for my cancer, and
Oh, right.
it was the only thing that wasn't that painful. You know what?
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah. So then, her nibs and me, so we went fucking ape shit.
Travelling,
We went travelling first class
obviously.
all the way. Weeks in Cuba, months in Marrakesh,
Yep.
Spain, all over the fucking place, you know. Until I suddenly realised it was 2011.
Shit. And you were still here.
What the fuck's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So I remember coming home and ringing my oncologist, you know, cancer gone.
Why am I dead?
Yeah, I got him saying, you know, what's going on now? You know, do I? And he said, well, next week you're due for another bone scan. So I went in for this bone scan, and you know, it's kind of top to bottom thing, and your cancer comes up like a little area lit up, you know, bits here or here or here,
Right.
and it had gone.
Right.
Gone. And the guy who was doing the bone scan said, "That's unusual. I'll check all the equipment." And then my oncologist said, "There must have been something wrong with the equipment because cancer seems to have disappeared. So you need to come back in." And I went back in, did it again, and then it disappeared. So, miracles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you definitely have cancer in the first place? I guess is the kind of first question.
Yeah.
there are stories about spontaneous remission, aren't there?
Yeah.
I mean, has anyone put it down to anything? Is there any common correlations?
They've done all kinds of tests.
Yeah.
And the cancer was, why I was told I only had so long to live, the cancer was in my ribs.
In your bones of your ribs?
No, not in bones. It was in what's called the sclerotic region, which is kind of like a muscular.
Intercostal between the.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in between your ribs. Mm-hmm. But they said it's only a matter of time before it does get into your bones.
Right.
So, but when I came back, I still got the letter.
So it's months in Marrakesh that did it.
Yeah, I was swimming pool.
Yeah.
Have you done any research?
Unfortunately, I was nearly fucking flat broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Have you done any? Have you looked online trying to find out if there's any research into it?
Research into
the spontaneous remission?
No, not really. No. I just took Sunshine out for a meal with some friends of mine in Manchester. Had a bit of a celebration, and that was that, really.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Amazing. You're a living miracle.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like it, man. Yeah.
So is this when you moved back to Preston then?
No, I recorded. I'd recorded, and my album Into the Dance was out by then, which is another charity thing. This was for, is it called Hope House? I can't remember. I've got the stuff up there.
Darien House?
there's a cancer charity in Preston here.
Dairy in a house.
No, not Derry in the house.
Mary. Oh no.
Anyway, so
Macmillan. No, that's a big one, isn't it?
National, yeah.
but there was a branch in Garstang,
Right.
and I just used to be able to go in there and get a cup of tea and talk to people. They were brilliant. They put me onto Macmillan, who of course I've done kind of videos and all kinds of stuff.
That's something we need to get onto, because the prostate cancer thing. You know, we're young-ish men.
Yeah.
People don't talk about it. And
Not often enough.
There's a specific test, isn't there, that you recommend, Jim?
Well, it's changing really quickly now because they're bringing out kind of new tests and different things all the time. There's a bit of controversy on how accurate the old
PSA, was it PSA 1? Yeah.
Prostate specific antigen test. It was a kind of numbers thing from your blood.
A blood test, right?
Yeah, and apparently there are new ways now of doing it. But yeah, blood tests are. I think maybe if I do a kind of if I do one of these podcasts on cancer, I can kind of get to that, you know, because a lot of it is hilarious, you know. A lot of it is real kind of Billy Connolly stuff, you know. It's very fucking funny, man, you know.
Going through the process of being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah. And the operations.
Really?
And the wonderful old farmer from Aslington in hospital and and on and on and on. It's just funny, man. Yeah. You know, it's like we were talking about before, you know, seeing those signs. Stroke patients here.
Yeah.
You know, that's me. You know.
So
come in and stroke me.
How did it feel when you went for that scan and got given the all clear?
I was amazed.
Yeah.
You know, I was a bit pissed off because of, you know, well, fucking hell, you know, I've spent all my money now.
Did you feel like you'd been given maybe a second chance?
Yeah.
And that I don't know.
Again, it's, you know, it's one of those moments, isn't it, when you think, well, you know, what now? Give back, you know. So the first thing I thought when I'd finished that album was make money for this charity. And then the last album that I made was the last album that I made in Garstang while I was living in Garstang. And then I moved to Preston. Yeah. And that was the rhythm album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, another bee in my bonnet. I watched, I got a little bit of an award for this, actually. I watched a documentary by a wonderful woman called Dr. Layla Hussein. She's an OB now, I think, or an MBA. Anyway, about female genital mutilation.
God.
Yeah. So I've got a bee in my bonnet about that, and made a CD, charity CD about that. Raised quite a bit of money for that.
First cut is the deepest, wasn't it?
Yeah, First Cut is the deepest. Cat Stevens song. Which I recorded with Alan Gregson, who used to be in Corner Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Brimful of Asher guy.
Yeah.
Who has a little studio just down the road here.
West Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Orange.
That's where it was recorded, Brimful of Asher.
Yeah, we did West Orange. He's in France now.
Oh.
Is he?
With all my drums.
Did he buy your drums off you?
He bought my drum kit, yeah.
Wow.
because he said it was the finest sounding fucking snare drum he'd ever heard in his life.
What's that? What snare was that?
It's my original Olympic snare drum.
Oh, from the
very
shop window.
The very first drum kit I ever got, and it was all peeling off, you know. And
Was it
it's a-
the steel
But
snare?
I'd really tarted it up, you know.
Mm.
I had a 42 strand snare on it, that thick, you know, and it was just beautiful, you know. It's so resonant, you know. I just tweaked it up. I got this thing from kind of roadies, you know. I can't remember which roadie I got this thing from, but if you lifted my snare drum case up, it said, "Stop! Do you fucking know exactly what you're doing, pal?" Right.
Yeah.
So,
Drums are easy to fuck up.
Oh yeah.
but he's so that my drum kit is he sent me a photo because he's building a studio in a place in France, you know, kind of ace, you know, brilliant.
Very good.
So that went quite well.
The FGM one.
Yeah, made quite a bit of money. Would have made more money if it hadn't been kind of licensed
For
you
Cat
know,
Stevens.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Cat Stevens donated as well, gave all his royalties to it,
Oh, that's nice.
so we got that fucking sorted out.
Mm.
Yeah, and I went down to London and had a bit of. That's when I went to on the old. I said I went down to London, and Alexis Earle was doing his memoirs.
Oh
And we
yeah.
had that meeting.
With Harry
And I went,
Boggs. Yeah.
I went down to London. We all met up, but also the other excuse was I got I think a certificate or something
Right.
presented by the Daughters of Eve, which is a charity FGM.
Is it right?
Yeah, Daughters of Eve charity at Manor Gardens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of these problems. It's drifted out of the public consciousness a bit over the last year or two, I would say.
Yeah, it peaked a little, didn't it?
There was a peak in awareness, wasn't there? And it's still going on. I'd say what people don't talk about: male genital mutilation either,
Yeah, I'm
which is a bit of a hot button issue.
I'm circumcised.
I'm Cavalier.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit of both.
You weren't sure, Ben, were you? You
No, I
thought-
wasn't sure.
No, you just have,
It was certainly
he just has a huge helmet.
certainly touching places that other podcasts don't touch. Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's
So yeah. So I'm still in Garstang
Mm.
and decided to record my last CD, Rhythm, with a guy called Neil Garland, who had been pestering me to really wanted to work with me. So, yeah, did that
Rhythm.
and recorded that in my bungalow
All right.
while it was being sold almost. Just kind of sell it, and then I moved to Preston.
All right. That's where I met you.
Brought that out. That's right.
Yeah.
Fixed me doorbell.
Yeah, I did a few jobs. Yeah. Fucking hell, I walked into your house. I thought, what fucking job have I walked to here?
Why? Why?
Because you were such a wild character. It was like,
Oh,
you're very bombastic and,
wild character.
a breath of fresh air. It's like, cracky,
Oh, good. Oh, pleased about that.
And I saw, like the music and the them Sennheiser headphones you had, HD 660s or something. I thought, wow,
Oh,
My
no,
dream
I haven't got
headphones.
them,
oh yeah, they're down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that
And a
must
good
be
sound system in there as well.
a good 8 years ago. That
Is it?
I bet it is. I bet it's till
Fucking hell.
2011, maybe 2012.
Wow.
But you're doing well anyway, Jim, considering how recently it is since you've had the stroke. Was it a mini?
Stroke.
Do they call it a mini stroke?
Yeah, it's infarction, isn't it?
Infarction.
A TIA.
TIA, yeah.
Transgenic. A transgenic infarction of the.
Is it a loss of blood supply to the part of the brain? Sort of thing?
It's a blockage.
Right.
Mine was in the left hemisphere. They did all the tests for bleeds and all that stuff. If it's bleeding, it's more serious. They go. But if it's bleeding, if it's blood, then you can treat it outside the brain. But if it's bleeding, you may have to go in.
They've got to stem the bleeding somehow.
So that was the first relief, I guess, when they said, there's no bleeding, and there's no, they have loads of tests and stuff. And that was even funny, because I'd just woken up on the Saturday morning, and a friend of mine rang me up, who's on the program, if you get me.
Yep.
And he said, Jim, you'd be honest with me. I said, yeah, man, I'm always fucking honest with you. He said, have you had a drink? And I went, no, why?
Oh,
He said, well, he's slurring your words really badly. I can hardly understand you. And I thought, I am.
You hadn't realised.
No, it's just overnight, man.
Bloody hell.
Woke up in the morning and I could hardly speak.
Shit.
Well, you can hear it now, can't you? Just slightly.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Little kind of hesitancies and things. So, so the paramedics and off I went. But I remember a funny thing. This little doctor came in and he said, can you stand up all right, Mr. Bamber? I said, yes, certainly. So I got out of bed and then he said, grip me by the hand, grip me by both hands and pull me towards you. Well, I nearly fucking kissed him. Yeah, he hadn't realised I'm a drummer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just went, but then he said, okay, that seems to be all right. Grasped me again and pushed me away. And I just went, and he went fucking straight over.
Oh, no.
Went straight over on his arse.
Oh.
And of course, it's a fucking teaching hospital, isn't it? So you've got 2 or 3 students with clipboards all going, all smirking,
God.
Good one.
But you've had the speech therapy, haven't you, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm meant to be talking very, very slowly.
All right, that's part of it, is it?
Yes. A little bit like my friend who was in the prostate ward with me, talking very, very slowly like that. But
Well, yeah.
he was from London, near Boom,
Only.
the nose. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about him someday. God, what
That's part of it. You've got to try and slow
a
down.
fucking character.
Slow down.
I guess.
Yeah.
One good thing is that this is my first day today giving up smoking. I mean, shit, fucking brick. If I had 50 quid for every time I tried to give up smoking, I'd still have a fucking place in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
But this, I'm glad about this. Sometimes people don't understand me when I say, well, I'm quite glad about cancer. It's a psychological theory about getting a better perspective on shit, But you know, I'm quite glad I've had a stroke, but because I think this time I'm really gonna fucking do it. You know, I'm really gonna stop.
You think this is the straw that's going to break the camel's back?
Well, I mean, everywhere where you go in a hospital, people are saying, stop smoking, stop smoking. You know, whoever you come up against, you know.
Went to the dentist 2 weeks ago. They told me about, they were giving me grief about smoking.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Well, I think this time, and I've got a completely different attitude about it. You know, I think before I was kind of battling it, you know. There's no, I mean, I don't really feel any kind of, you know,
Withdrawal.
No, I don't, or what's the word for it?
DTs.
Yeah, but
Cravings.
Cravings. That's the very word. Thank you. Don't really feel any of that. It's just the kind of habit, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
You think it's mainly psychological rather than physical addiction?
I know it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be embarrassing when I go for this one-to-one, really. You know, when I tell her, actually, I'm a highly qualified addiction therapist.
Oh, right. You're having a one-to-one for giving up the fags.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting, that one. Because
you know, yeah, I'm a highly qualified. So, I mean, nicotine is out of your system in 48 hours.
Really? That quick?
So what else is it?
There's only one thing left, isn't there?
And
It's in your head.
it's the worst, they reckon, the worst psychological addiction, craving thing. Yeah. The worse than cocaine, crack, anything, you know.
Wow.
But strangely, I don't feel that this time. You know, I mean, the 4 days when I was in hospital, I was absolutely craving it. Just give me a fucking cigarette, you know. But I went 4 days there. The first thing I did when I got here was have a pack. Very first thing when I walked in.
Yeah.
You know. But now I feel, touch water or whatever. You know, I don't feel it.
Good.
You know, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you kick it this time.
Yeah.
And it's getting late.
Is it?
Yeah. I think we're going to have to adjourn this week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've done an hour and a half.
Hour and a half already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Time flies.
I've got an early start in the morning. Ugh.
Oh, bless you.
Really can't. I really don't like Mondays. As Bob Geldof once said.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shoot up anything, but
It's kind of got to be done, though.
it has.
Yep.
So,
It's got to be done at one stage.
Thanks very much, Jim.
Yes, thanks once again, Jim.
Yeah, it's slightly downbeat this time, though.
No, it's fine. Well, we've ended on a positive note. Immaculate. I was going to say immaculate conceptions. It's not that, is it?
I hope.
Miracle.
I hope no.
Miracle remissions.
Yeah.
Miracle remissions.
And
Well, it's true, man. I knew I was going to talk about that, which is why I asked you about the Jerusalem rose,
Oh yeah.
which I'll show you in a minute.
oh, Jim's going to show us his Jerusalem rolls.
Oh, Jerusalem rose. God damn it.
Right, thanks for listening, eavesdroppers
Yeah,
and
thank
stream droppers. We'll be back with Jim in the near future, no doubt. And we're going to wrap up for this week. So,
Yeah.
ta-ra.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, mate.
Wakanda forever.
Bye.
See you next time,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.